Coming up today on Eagle Eyes on Tech, Apple sues an Apple leaker for leaking Apple things. Microsoft cuts Windows 10 off from their cloud office support. Italian YouTuber faces jail time for emulating. We might actually have the price of the Xbox handheld, and it's all over. Robots can now change their own batteries. Our time is now over. All that and more coming up today on Eagle Eyes on Tech. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or 2 a.m. Go to this Eagle Eyes on Tech guy. I'm Eagle Falcon. Got quite a bit to talk about today. And I gotta wonder something. What is the future of AI really? Like, I keep asking very similar questions almost every week, but I gotta wonder, what is its future? Because we keep hearing about how it's gonna, oh man, AI is gonna do all sorts of amazing things. And then we ask, like what? And then as an answer to like what, we get things like this. Well, you see, OpenAI now has a new ChatGPT agent that can control the entire computer and do tasks for you. I've seen it try to cheat at homework. Are you sure giving it access to the entire computer is a good idea? Like, I'll be brutally honest. I wouldn't want it near my computer. Granted, my computer has no hope of running ChatGPT. But from a security standpoint, I want you to think about something for a moment, okay? All right. We're talking about a cloud-based AI. Like, it needs some serious horsepower to run, which is their whole argument for having this thing run on the cloud. And this thing can control your entire computer to do tasks. Does this not come off as a security vulnerability to anyone else? You want to talk about the potential for a breach of any kind to very quickly become, oops, I accidentally created the world's biggest botnet, and it's all because I managed to get access to ChatGPT. Like, am I the crazy one? Or does this seem not worth it? Like, this seems way too big of a risk. I guess in the end, we'll just have to wait and see. More than likely, this isn't going to happen anytime soon. But, you know, at the same time, we get promises again and again and again with generative AI. And then we're told, don't worry, those things can never happen, such as, you know, getting bad training data and having the AI literally start spouting off hate speech. That can never happen. No, the new AI's so good, so modern, so perfect, so fixed. It can never, ever happen. Anyway, XAI begins to talk about how Mecha Hitler happened and said that people went ahead and used upscreen code to go ahead and trigger unintended actions. Basically, people fed it bad data, just like with Tay AI, which then caused it to go crazy. In any case, Grok is now being put also into Tesla. Doesn't that sound great? Doesn't that sound like a useful, such a useful feature to add? What are we doing? We're just so focused on just adding AI and giving it more capabilities rather than fixing the massive flaws that it has. Like, we're just ignoring the fact that AI can just catastrophically fail in its own execution. We're ignoring the fact that Grok goes ahead and spreads massive amounts of misinformation and has been trained to spread misinformation. It's funny enough because there's tons of bots on Twitter. At least I assume they're bots that keep going to every single post that's going even remotely viral and then go, Grok, is this true? To the point where it's become a meme of itself. And you have about a 50-50 shot of Grok accurately depicting what's going on, being either true or untrue, or just spreading misinformation. Like, there was one piece out there. It was a very obvious piece of Chinese propaganda, because they were trying to go out and say that Chinese drone shows are so superior to fireworks, and they just showed AI slop. It was like blatant AI slop. Like, they were showing multiple angles of this drone dragon that had perfect, smooth, connected lines, not just, you know, a bunch of floating dots making a dragon, which is how drone shows actually work. Showed lights off the drones hitting roofs and rolling off, which is not how drones work. Like, it's very, very blatantly AI, because there's no technology in existence to do what was being shown. Grok, oh yeah, no, this is a thing that really happened in Shanghai back in 2006. So not only is Grok just incorrectly identifying what's real and not, but also at the same time, not even remotely picking a year where the technology to do what they showed existed. Okay, yeah. But of course, I'm the old man yelling at the cloud, even though AI continues to again and again and again prove it is not ready to be in charge of nearly as much as tech giants want us to believe that they are ready for. I don't know how much more clear I have to be in this regards. I mean, really, for the most part, I don't think I can ever be clear enough. Because no matter how hard I try, we're just gonna keep on assuming that, yep, our AI overlords are coming, and there's no escape. No escape. That's great. Fantastic. And then no one was happy. I'll tell you who isn't happy, though. Mr. John Prosser, an Apple leaker who a while back showed off multiple videos showing what he claimed to be a recreated renderings of what was presumed to be called iOS 19, and eventually unveiled recently as iOS 26 at WWDC in this past June. And well, it showed off some features we did see. It didn't have everything, so it was clearly an early build. He got his hands on it somehow. Now, I don't know if this John Prosser fellow has any kind of actual access within Apple, if he got it from a rogue employee, or how he got the thing, or if it was all just based on leaks and actually did put together these renders. It's hard to say. He also then showed off many other videos, including the liquid glass look before it came out, the redesigned camera app, as well as the deleted messages feature. Well, Apple's now suing John Prosser over these leaks. At this time, though, I do not believe we actually have an amount for how much he is being sued for. Well, we actually do have the entire lawsuit. We have the entire thing here. I don't know if I'm able to find the amount of seeking damages they're looking for here. That's weird. When I first brought this up, this thing wasn't here. Oh yeah, they're suing him for what did they say specifically? Damages for revealing trade secrets. It does look like the actual amount in damages they're seeking is not listed. The only line I saw specifically said that it would be difficult to calculate the amount of damages this man has caused in regards to the trade secrets he has divulged. Now, I can't remember the last time I've actually ever seen Apple sue anyone for something like this. I think this would be a first. However, considering Apple's recent appearance in court involved them not only losing, but having to pay extras in fines for their behavior in court. I don't see this going anywhere, but I'm not 100% sure. Like, to me, this kind of comes off as Apple being petty. They're just going around just being like, oh man, this guy showed off the goods before we were ready. Oh my God. I mean, unless he signed an NDA, I don't think you have anything, Apple. Because without it, he's pretty much just reporting. So without knowing that, without knowing whether there is an NDA that was signed, I don't think Apple has much of anything. I think they just have lawyers that are just eager to get their beak wet, trying to go ahead and out Nintendo. Here's the difference, though. Nintendo knows how to pick its battles, but we'll have to just wait and see. It is worth mentioning, I just noticed this here. The actual case cites both John Prosser and another man by the name of Michael Ramacati. Michael Ramacati rings a bell. I'm not sure why, but it could be that one of them is an Apple employee or something of that manner and has signed an NDA, and that's what they're going after. But for right now, it is difficult to tell. I mean, you probably could tell, but that requires reading. Reading hard. Bold statements only around here. Meanwhile, though, regulation has been signed. In the US, the Genius Act has now made it so that cryptocurrency can now be regulated by the US government, specifically with stable coins. Now, what's going to be telling is when people go through and read the several hundred-page bill and then find out this is going to do a whole lot of nada for preventing crypto scams. The thing is with crypto right now, right? First off, crypto in general is popping off. Like right now, Bitcoin is insanely expensive. Like to the point where I wish anyone who went ahead and mined 5 Bitcoins long ago wishes they still had those Bitcoins, as Bitcoin is now worth $118,163.90 per coin, which is insane. Now, the actual law itself, the Genius Act, only regulates stable coins. These are coins that are tied to an existing currency, and thus their price doesn't fluctuate wildly based on brain dead speculation like Bitcoin does, where its entire value is based on hopes and dreams of what they can go ahead and get some other sucker to pay for. How this whole thing is going to play out in regards to unstable coins, or everyone's personal favorite, meme coins, is unsure right now. Because right now, meme coins is basically the only thing the crypto world cares about, because everyone sees it as an opportunity to go ahead and try to make a whole bunch of money, where in actuality, the whole thing was rigged from the get-go, and you're sticking your hand in a bear trap and hoping you can get a slice of bread that is sitting in the bear trap. Someone in chat asked, what about XRP? I am unsure right now what's going to happen with XRP. The thing is that, yeah. The Genius Act, unfortunately, just pretty much gives now the legal authorization to the US Treasury to regulate stable coins. And the article here from Gizmodo specifically cites the USDC and the USDT crypto coins as ones that are being regulated. I am unsure of what other ones are being regulated. And then on top of that, I am unsure of what this law is going to mean for the actual Wild West of crypto. Because when push comes to shove, most crypto, its value is 100% speculation based. 100%. There is nothing else pushing its value other than what other people believe it's worth. And then someone in chat beat me to the whole point. The core concept of crypto was the fact that no government controls it. That was the whole original point. And now we're getting around that. So you're in this weird spot now, right? What's now the difference between a stablecoin cryptocurrency like USDC and USDT and just, you know, an electronic payment? It's not a whole lot of a difference other than one's now more complicated to use and is also now governed by the US government, just like your Venmo transaction. This is going to be one that's going to be very interesting to monitor, especially as more and more people with more and more time on their hands read through the 7,000 page bill or however long the Genius Act actually is. What I'm really going to want to know, how's this going to affect Trump coin? I'm kidding. No one cares about Trump coin. Not even Trump. That coin is dead. My Echo woke up just to tell me that it's not dead. I'm not sure what that means. Now, while things are going on in the crypto space that is going to forever shape it forever, here's a question that we now need to ask ourselves. This headline seems absurdly concerning. And I don't know how if it's actually as bad as it sounds. Here's the headline. A little known Microsoft program could expose the Defense Department to Chinese hackers. Apparently, Microsoft maintains software for the Department of Defense. The system is so complicated, and because for whatever reason we feel like we don't need to go ahead and have people here locally to manage that, Microsoft outsourced a lot of that work to maintain the Department of Defense software to China, saying allegedly they're not sure what they're doing, but they're really good at it. This isn't real, right? Right? This is an Onion article, right? This is fake news, right? Like, right? Like, I'm sure there's some actual exaggerations going on here. I seriously doubt it is as bad as the story makes it out to be. I'm sure it's just like some minor stuff. And they're just like, oh, we just wanted some people that were just cheap to look at after like this specific system to make sure that this old RAID format is intact that everyone forgot about because we all use ZFS now or something like that or whatever. I'm sure it's nothing that bad. If it is as bad as they're writing it, holy smokes, that is horrendous. Here's what I'll tell you though. If it is real, we are probably going to hear about it within 2 weeks. Like there's no other way. There's no way with the current administration they would look at this and go, yeah, that's fine. There's no way. Not with the amount of actual backhanding China on an economic front that the current administration is doing. There's no way, right? We'll have to see. We'll have to wait and see. That was just kind of in my pile. Man, it seems too good to be true. You know what else is too good to be true? Thinking that sticking on Windows 10 means that you go ahead and continue to get updates for a software that operates primarily off your computer. Microsoft is going to halt new Office features for Windows 10. This is specifically in regards to Office 365, their cloud-based Office system. You know, the thing that specifically does not run on your computer. You know what the best part is? This might be the sole reason a whole lot of companies finally upgrade their computers, which they're then going to go ahead and wonder why they went ahead and did what they did. To understand what I mean, let's go back in time. Long ago, we had these strange devices called CD drives. And in CD drives, you would go ahead and put in these things called CDs. Ooh. And on these CDs, you had a piece of software that stood on its own and would just continue to work indefinitely, forever, until you upgrade the computer and it was no longer compatible. Then you have to go and get the new version of it that works with the newer computer and install that. But it's to the point where back in the day, you'd just owned the software and could just reinstall it. Or if you were like my dad, refuse to ever get the new version ever and just keep reinstalling Microsoft Works again and again and again. Microsoft Works is basically the equivalent of modern WordPad. It was about as bare bones could bare bones. But then companies were like, ooh, paying $300 per computer for new versions of Office every few years is expensive. Well, hearing that, Adobe first, then Microsoft, came up with a scam. The scam went as followed. All you gotta do is install this free software and keep paying us $40 a month. The price will never go up, wink, and you'll always be up to date, so you'll never have to worry about paying $300 per computer per year. Wink. And the companies, in what I can only assume is a moment of being lobotomized, thought that this was a great idea and bought into the thought of Windows 3 or Microsoft 365. But hey, we don't need to worry about our own servers. We just pay Microsoft to do it, and we'll never have to upgrade our computer ever again because everything is on the cloud and a potato can run it. Oh, look at that. No, not anymore. Nope. You got to go ahead and make sure you're on a computer that's at least, 7 years old or newer? No, even your super crazy high-end workstations for the one guy that works on CAD that's got that dual 24-core Xeon system. Nope, they're SOL too, because it doesn't have a trusted platform module too. So yeah, if you use Microsoft 365, first off, haha. Second, you need to upgrade to Windows 11 if you want to keep getting updates for it. So if your company owner, the person who makes your financial decisions, is not happy about this, here's what you tell them. You will own nothing and you will be happy. Hook, line, and sinker. They fell for it again. There's no other way to get around it. We're going to take our first break here. When we come back, I got more Microsoft news to share for you, as well as talk about the YouTuber who may in fact be sent to jail for emulating. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back. Welcome back, Eagle Eyes on Tech. I'm Eagle Falcon. Let's go ahead and talk about how Microsoft is doing only good things forever. We already spoke briefly about how Microsoft is going ahead and making it so you have to get off Windows 10 if you hope to actually still use Office. That is still definitely absolutely the case. Enjoy that. Smile. But how about this? If you went ahead and you were dumb enough to buy movies and TV shows off the store on Xbox and Windows, guess what? It's all gone. For now, you can still access the content you own TM. I put own TM in massive air quotes because the way all of these work is that you actually own nothing and you will be happy before you see you're just buying a license to use it as long as they feel like having it. It's great. But they have now made it so that you cannot buy new movies or TV shows off the Xbox TV store or the Xbox movie store. That's all gone. It's all gone, period. And like, I know lately we've definitely had a old man yells at cloud vibe to the way we've been talking about all these kinds of features that are just kind of vanishing. But I gotta ask for a second, why is it that watching movies and TV shows nowadays is actually more inconvenient than back in the era of the VCR? Like, okay, you can't do anything as far as VHS from your living room. You had to physically go out to a Blockbuster. You had to go out to a Hollywood Movies. You had to go out to a Walmart or wherever to go ahead and get your actual VHS tape. You know, there was all that. And as someone said, you also had to hope that the tape was there, that they weren't out of stock. Whoops. But the thing is that if I went out, got the tape or the DVD, or even the DVD for that fact, I'd have it. I'd own it. It can't just vanish and just never, ever show up again because all of a sudden it's just arbitrarily gone for whatever reason. Like, it definitely feels like we're going backwards. Now, granted, as chat is nostalgically remembering the phrase "be kind, please rewind," yeah, we don't have to worry about going ahead and make sure the tape is rewound all the way back to the beginning, etc., and all that jazz. We don't have to worry about having all these various devices sitting underneath the computer, underneath the TV, and plugged into it into a literal rat's nest of wires. We don't have that anymore. But now we have the problem of one day you want to go ahead and share a movie with your significant other, and it might just not be there. So what is the next step? Are we just gonna forever be at the mercy of major companies just deciding that software and media in general might just be gone because we wanted to go ahead and have this massive cloud service, but we don't feel like having it anymore, or the license where it ran out, and thus it's now lost forever, and the rest of us just got to accept that? I want to remind you, in the gaming space, that was the whole point of the Stop Killing Games movement. Someone in chat said it may be available on the Pirate Bay. I don't know how to tell you this, but downloading it off the Pirate Bay is actually illegal, because this may come as a shock to you. Most things on the Pirate Bay are pirated. I know. The subtle hints were there, and this may come as a shocking revelation to you. And on top of that, there have been times where ISPs actually do go out for people who have been caught pirating things like that. We here on this podcast do not condone piracy. You do not pirate things. Do not pirate things. That being said, look at my Linux ISO file over here. In any case, so where do you go from here then? And you know what the next step is going to be. You can still access the content you own, right? Okay. Access the content you own. How long until that's pulled off the server? And I just gotta hope that I have a local version of it. I actually don't know how the Microsoft Store works. I assume the Microsoft Store actually works poorly, and you actually download the file locally, which is actually a good thing. It defeats the whole purpose of a cloud system, but for the purposes of, in my opinion, optimal media enjoyment, that this is the correct way to go about it. Oh well, just don't be surprised when all of a sudden you can't access that anymore on Microsoft at all. Then it's just gone forever. And in fact, this whole fear of media vanishing, it's one of the reasons why emulation is so popular, right? Because there's plenty of games out there that you cannot play anymore and have no ability to access the games. For example, the Nintendo Switch does have the ability to play a large chunk of old NES, Super NES, Game Boy Advanced, Game Boy games and whatnot through its cloud emulation service. But not all of them are there. For example, one NES game I really like, called Uncharted Waters, not available on there. And in fact, there is no legal way to get Uncharted Waters anymore. You have to resort to emulation. So what does that also say when you have a story like this one right here, where a retro gaming YouTuber is going to be facing jail time for reviewing Android handhelds that use emulation? Someone in chat asked, does the Nintendo Switch Online system have the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance Pokemon games on it? I want to say no, but it just is what it is. So here's the story, okay? The actual YouTuber goes by the name of Android Authority, okay? He reviews a lot of these sort of emulation devices. And I want to stress again, there is nothing wrong with emulation on its face, okay? In fact, here's going to come as a shocker to you. The Nintendo Switch Online system, it uses emulation. Guess what? Your computer, if it does not support an older protocol, it uses emulation to simulate that old protocol. Whoa. It's why older games that use DirectX 9 and your graphic card doesn't support DirectX 9 anymore might perform worse because your GPU has to emulate DirectX 9 compatibility. Whoa. Like, emulation is everywhere. Someone in chat asked if the current Game Boy Advance Switch Online thing has Pokemon. It has Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Red Rescue Team, and that's it for Pokemon games on there. It doesn't have any of the originals. I'm pretty sure the Game Boy one also doesn't have anything either. Although, that being said, July 22nd, this upcoming Tuesday, Pokemon does have a Pokemon Direct. They may announce something like that there. And it might be like a footnote to them talking about how Pokemon ZA is coming soon and being woo. So that could be a thing. So this guy goes ahead and he reviews these Android emulation boxes. The thing is that he is based in Italy. Contrary to popular belief, Italy has some very, very draconian consumer protection laws. In fact, this one law is what's being used for his jail time, because he goes ahead and he orders some of these emulation things. They come preloaded with a whole bunch of ROMs. Now, to be clear, these devices preloaded with the ROMs, that actually is piracy. Like, there's no gray area about that. Okay? The company that sold them does not have the right to those ROMs. They don't have the right to go ahead and preload those. It is just straight up piracy. However, his actual intent is just to review them. He is not going in and actively trying to go and commit piracy. However, Nintendo got wind of this, saw the videos of him showing the device emulating Nintendo products, including some games that, spoiler alert, you can't actually download anymore or get at all. To continue the question that someone else had, the Game Boy Switch Online service has the Pokemon trading card game, and that's it. So yeah, actual true Pokemon games, the Nintendo Switch does not have. But yeah, it's Nintendo that is going ahead and seeking damages and pressing charges. But because of the way the law is written, this guy might actually be facing jail time solely for owning this device. Can you imagine if you went ahead and bought a device, found out that, it's loaded with ROMs, and then you're arrested because, it's loaded with ROMs? Like, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. And honestly, I mean, my stance on this sort of stuff is very simple, okay? I personally wouldn't recommend getting any of these Android emulation boxes, because these Android emulation boxes are a dime a dozen. They have roughly $5 worth of electronics in them. You are then charged $50, $60, $70 for roughly $5 worth of electronics. And then you get a whole bunch of pirated games to boot that barely function on these sort of devices. Like, in my opinion, they're not worth it to go ahead and use these. I personally would recommend against it. That's just me, though. Emulation as a whole, again, I have no problem with it. I also think, and also it is the case proven in court, that if you do have a physical copy of the game, then having a software version of the game of that same game is not illegal. It just isn't, period. Even if the game then is modded. Nintendo, however, going ahead and being as aggressive as they can about this, clearly don't care. And once again, we have a case of Nintendo trying to ruin someone's life only because Nintendo feels they're committing the most heinous crime, when in fact this guy just wanted to go ahead and show his audience what these sort of oddball Android emulation boxes are all about. And for the most part, it's not that interesting. But here's my question, Nintendo. And this is actually the part I really disagree with Nintendo on. Why go after the YouTuber? Why not go after the actual maker of the blasted box? You know, the company that's actively selling piracy, the company that is actively making money off piracy. No. We're going to go after the random YouTuber. Insane. Actually insane. But it is what it is. People in chat are saying YouTuber, it's a softer target. It's a Chinese company, hard to stop. You're freaking Nintendo. Here's the thing, all right? You could go after the company that you have the much better case against and actually are suffering damages from, or you go after a random YouTuber, the random guy trying to go ahead and go after the guy just showing what are these sort of things here and giving a very neutral stance on it. Oh, no. People in chat are saying, yeah, but they're basically shell companies. They're almost hard to go after. So what? Going after the YouTuber? Not a good answer. Chat's actually wrong in this. I'm sorry, they're wrong. Nintendo is in the wrong for this, my friends. Because the YouTuber hasn't actually directly caused damage to Nintendo. The worst thing this guy did was shown emulated games on a YouTube channel. That's it. Nintendo did no effort. None. Zip zero not. They just went after the guy whose livelihood now ruined. He's done forever now. What kind of message does this send from Nintendo's point of view? Someone in chat says, but Nintendo isn't going to attempt to rile up the Chinese government. Have you seen what Nintendo does to the Western governments? Chat is just continuing to insist that there's no way they're going to go after China because China is China. So instead, they're going to go ahead and risk ruining random civilian lives and think that nothing's going to happen. Nintendo's already playing with fire. Like, that's the worst part about all of this. Someone in chat, Nintendo doesn't care about the consumer. They need to if they hope to survive. But this kind of goes to my point, doesn't it? Nintendo truly, when push comes to shove, cares about one thing. And that's how big is the bottom line. That's truly what matters. The rest of this, the lawsuit against random YouTuber because emulation, the going after Pocket Parrot, which by the way, that lawsuit is not going the way Nintendo hoped. Word is coming down that certain aspects of that lawsuit are not going the way Nintendo originally planned, but I don't have information about that to actually cover that in good detail yet. The number of times they've gone after various websites, even just Nintendo, basically, I know this isn't a Switch 2, but let's pretend this is a Switch 2. The way they have 100% ruined the used market of their brand new console, which it also turns out that that whole thing about banning people for using the Switch 2 in a way they don't approve of, not done in the EU at all. So they continue to again and again push the buttons of the consumer. They continue to ruin their public image with this. If they actually cared about piracy, they would go to where it actually matters. They don't. That's my point. They continue to push this more and more and more. And I do wonder at what point Not what point does the consumer look at the way that Nintendo operates and don't buy. That's not what I'm wondering what's going to happen, when that's going to happen. What I really want to know is at what point does Nintendo's behavior, regardless, before anyone goes, but the EULA, but the EULA, but the EULA. EULA doesn't mean squat when the EULA itself violates consumer protection laws. And I wonder at what point does that line get crossed and then devices like the Switch 2 end up becoming banned. You're already starting to see the first steps of that happen in Brazil. How long until that spreads outside of there? We'll have to wait and see. In other news, though, Delta is now using AI to determine how much you're going to pay per ticket instead of, using set prices. All right, so here's the new strat, okay? Here's what we do. If AI is used to generate prices on the fly, what we do is we bombard the server with requests for a seat until the AI hallucinates a shockingly low price ticket and then secure that. There's also an equal chance that it could hallucinate a significantly higher price. So obviously we just ignore that. But I mean, hey, like I say, the biggest flaw with generative AI is that AI can hallucinate. It is built into every single model by its very nature. Just like I am built into every single day to forget what I had for breakfast, every single AI model will hallucinate at some point. It is inevitable. So all we can do is wait and see how long this completely backfires. People in chat are talking about what's the future for Nintendo. Here's what I'll say as far as Nintendo goes. All right. For me personally, it's just Pokemon. It really, really is just Pokemon. And quite frankly, unless I have most likely Pokemon ZA is going to be a Switch 2 game. Oh, I know. I think we do know that it's going to be Switch 1 and Switch 2. So I might still be able to get it without having to get a Switch 2. But I mean, unless the next generation Pokemon does something very, very interesting, I really don't care anymore. I mean, I really don't. Especially after Scarlet and Violet just was almost unplayable at launch. And quite frankly, considering the fact that Nintendo just continues again and again and again to just keep wanting to punch YouTubers and streamers in the crotch for the most random thing out there, I kind of look at it and go, what's the point? I will say, though, I am glad to see more and more that publishers like Square Enix that actually do make the games I want to play are supporting all platforms at the same time, including PC and the Steam Deck. Because that means reliance on devices like this that you could get banned of because you looked at Nintendo wrong, not as necessary as they once were. We're going to take another break here. When we come back, I want to talk about NVIDIA, which means it's going to be only good things, right? Right? In addition, we're going to talk about the Xbox handheld. We got some news about that. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back. Welcome back, Eagle Eyes on Tech. I'm Eagle Falcon. Restrictions have been lifted, and NVIDIA announces after becoming a $4 trillion piece of garbage that they'll now be able to resume sales of the raw AI H20 GPU in China, despite the fact that there were embargoes of selling such a high power GPU to China. Those are apparently now being lifted, either because that's part of trade agreements going on right now between the US and China, or because the US government realized that AI actually kind of sucks. I Part of me wants it to be the latter because I want more and more people to kind of sober up and kind of realize that AI kind of sucks at its one job. But I kind of doubt I'm going to get my way as we just continue to see the march of AI doing more and more and more go into full effect. I actually wonder, at one point, will AI just go ahead and start buying Nintendo consoles and play the Nintendo consoles so that the people don't? I don't know. Oh, well, Nvidia can go ahead and make more money because that's what we need to see. We need to go ahead and see more and more advances in AI, despite the fact that we are still sticking to the generative AI model, which almost by its very definition will never be ready for mission critical applications. Granted, maybe this will be a use for AI. Google is adding the ability for AI to go ahead and call local businesses on your behalf to go ahead and gather information for you. Now, I'm not going to lie, on paper, this actually seems like a pretty useful feature of AI. If you're going around and shopping around for, a bunch of local businesses to go get this one specific service done, going ahead and having AI do a whole bunch of calls faster than you can, because AI can go ahead and hold multiple conversations at a time, this seems like on paper a really good idea. Are you ready for the but? But as someone who does work at the business phone for a local business that I own, do you know what I hate the most? It is a call that goes something like this. Hello, this is Ashley. I've been trying to reach out to you about your Medicare supplements. Do you have Medicare Part A and B? The ratio of customers to spam calls I get, I'm not even exaggerating when I say this, the ratio is 1-to-1. So to go ahead and get an AI robot now, instead of calling me about my Medicare or Life Alert or what's some of the other one? Oh, final expense insurance. That one's my favorite because we don't call it final expense insurance here in my state of Wisconsin. No one does. Only the AI bots do. I don't know about other states, but we don't here. Someone in chat says real customers are going to contact you through fax or email anyway. Oddly enough, we don't have a fax machine. I have debated setting up a fax line though, because there's been a couple of times we've had to fax documents to the state or the feds, and it has been very inconvenient to have to travel down to Office Max to go ahead and do that. But fortunately, almost all of those systems are now obsolete. We actually haven't needed to use a fax machine in years. Thank God. Never looking forward to faxing the dry 20. That was stupid. So the fact that this is going to go ahead and, like, on paper, this seems fine. I just foresee, even when this feature is used properly, that it is going to tick off a lot of small businesses. And many of them are going to ignore these phone calls simply because it's an AI voice and they just don't want to talk to the AI voice because they're sick of the 80,000 other AI calls trying to go ahead and scam them. But now I also got to ask this. What happens when the scammers figure out how to use this tool to go ahead and commit scams? That is the real question you need to start asking. What happens when this goes bad? We'll have to wait and see how that goes. Kind of like we're going to have to wait and see how this thing that has been teased for a while is finally about to happen. This one Google thing is finally happening. The merger of Chrome OS and Android. What does that mean? Nobody knows. Not even Google. Because when they're asked to describe what does this merger mean, they just said we'll have more details in the future, which is code for their representative has no idea. Okay. You want to know what it's going to mean? I can tell you very easily what it's going to mean. You know what the merger of Chrome OS and Android is going to mean? It means they're going to kill Chrome OS. Like, I want you to think about this for a second, okay? Just think about it. What features does Chrome OS have? And before you say it, no, very sarcastic Chrome OS owners, it does not brew you a coffee in the morning, go ahead and pre-warm the shower for you so that it's ready for you to use. It does not give you a back rub when you are feeling too stressed out, and it won't make love to you at night. Those are not features that Chrome OS and your Chromebook do for you. Those are things you made up. None of those are real. But no, on its face, Chrome OS is a very light operating system that basically exclusively runs the Chrome browser, the Chrome apps built into the Chrome browser, and select Android apps. Okay, what does Android have? A fully fledged out mobile operating system with Chrome already built into it, and for the most part has apps that have Android compatible apps that the Chrome browser already has access to. The merger of Chrome OS and Android is very simple. The one or two features that still remain in Chrome OS that Android doesn't have get added, and you kill Chrome OS. That's it. That's most likely what this is going to come down to. All that's going to happen is actual Chrome OS vanish, gone, never to be seen again. And honestly, that's fine. Chrome OS itself was basically just a web browser on a thin client anyway. It was a well-marketed tool for cheap computers. The thing is that really a Chromebook never did a whole lot more than any other computer. It was just stripped down and very basic. So, I mean, honestly, Chrome OS being killed and replaced with Android might actually be better for the world, to be perfectly honest. Now, I do think from the perspective of schools, you would need a version of Android-powered laptops that are heavily locked down to go ahead and secure that market, because you can't just give kids full-blown Android. You can't, especially in a school setting. It would need to be locked down, or better yet, probably preferably, some kind of way for them all to be monitored by one central system. Because you give kids a computer and that much access to the system, you're going to have kids during the study hour playing Half-Life Deathmatch instead of looking up the history of World War II. Not that I speak from experience at all. Nope. No siree. Not me. Did I say Half-Life Deathmatch? I mean Fortnite. Fortnite is what they installed nowadays. So yeah, we might be seeing the death of Chrome OS, which means that all the trollers are going to need to find something new to harass me with instead of Chrome OS going ahead and doing everything you ever wanted. Oh, who am I kidding? They're just going to move to Mac OS. We all deep down kind of know it. Meanwhile, though, Microsoft has a new product that's coming out soon, TM. That is the Xbox Ally, and the Xbox Ally X. These are the two handhelds made by Asus, and they're going to be powered by, well, Windows. But they'll have an Xbox skin on top of that, specifically for gaming. So you can enjoy all the bloat of Windows 11. And the question is, how much are they going to cost? Well, we have some leaked prices. The leaked prices are 599 euros for the Xbox Ally and 899 euros for the Ally X, which means roughly we would expect. Did they actually go into the pricing on this, or? Oh, they do. It means I would estimate roughly the $899 Ally X would be roughly $1,050 US, and potentially the Xbox Ally being roughly around $799. So is it just me, or is this product already dead in the water? Like, I know people buy these Windows ones, not many, but people still do buy them. But I really gotta ask, would you rather pay $700 or $800 for the base entry of the Xbox handheld, or would you rather spend $400 for the Steam Deck? Or my personal choice, the $550 version of the Steam Deck, which is still cheaper. Yeah, this doesn't seem like a good idea. Like, this just seems way too expensive, especially compared to, you know, an Xbox. You know, the thing that its most expensive version is $500. We'll have to see. Like, I want to stress these are rumored prices. These are ones that are leaked, that were acquired through searching through the AI search algorithms. So, I mean, they could have very much have been gathered through the metadata of a hallucination. That is a possibility, but that is your leak. That is potentially your prices. They are not official. We'll have to wait and see what the real ones actually look like. Meanwhile, though, Valve has a bit of a controversy, where you see a bunch of games have been killed on Steam. Stop killing games, can't come enough. Games have been killed. Tons upon tons upon tons of not safe for work games or adult games have been removed from Steam, not because of a change in Steam rules, but because of rules that are being pushed by payment providers. This is specifically from, you guessed it, Visa and MasterCard. Here we go again. This almost feels like it comes in cycles, doesn't it? I want to say this is what, our third time around now with Valve allowing not safe for work games, then not allowing them because of their payment providers, then allowing them again, then not allowing them because of their payment providers, then allowing them again, and then not allowing them for their payment providers. Here's the thing I will give props to Valve for. If you were enough of a degenerate to go ahead and get any of these adult-only Steam games that are now banned, you can still re-download them. Valve is actually very good about this. That if a game is considered no longer available for sale, if you did already buy it, you can still keep re-downloading it. I don't know how long it's going to stay, but it is something that Valve is very good about. So you can, in fact, actually go ahead and still re-download that wonderful hot steamy copy of, you know, that game you really, really like. Oh, man. Not to mention getting a copy of, or a copy of, yeah, okay, I think we're done with that gag now. So you can still go ahead and get those. And, you know, as much as people are making a big deal out of this, which we make it a big deal every year because holy smokes, they're going ahead, they're killing our games, they took our game, they'll be back. They're always back. That being said, though, if MasterCard and Visa are going to be such prudes that they're going to hate on any game that has any ounce of nudity on it, man, they 100% should never ever look at the critically acclaimed MMORPG Final Fantasy XIV, which has a free trial up to level 70, including the award-winning expansion Stormblood with no restriction on playtime, and then look at the modding scene. Ooh, their heads might explode if they do that. Their brains are not capable of comprehending that kind of stuff. Chat is also now wondering, hey, does that mean I can go download porn games if I don't use MasterCard or Visa? No, because MasterCard and Visa are part of the payment provider. So even if you have, so I'm sorry, getting a Discover card does not make it so you can download porn games. I'm sorry. That being said, Discover absolutely should be advocates for not safe for work content out there, and just embrace that. Not because it'd be a good business decision, but because I would find it really, 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 really funny. And admit it, you'd find it funny too. Meanwhile, though, new rules went into effect at YouTube. These rules, we spoke about this last week, I'm pretty sure, but these rules would have been a godsend to the platform, a new age that would save everything. Except that it didn't change a whole lot. So the rules, for those who don't recall, was mostly about content where nothing was original about the content. So videos had to go ahead and feature the creator's actual voice, not an AI generated one, and had to actually include original footage. Like, you could not just re-upload existing footage in a supercut without contributing anything. And you've seen stuff like this. It is omnipresent on YouTube. I really do mean that. It is everywhere. And it is just like the majority of AI generated content is in fact reusing pre-existing footage and having an AI voice talk about nonsense or a made up story. So yeah, this is a feature that YouTube needed to do. Here's the thing. They are not enforcing it nearly as strongly as the language implies. Like, the way it is stated, it is written in such a way that if your content contained anything that was not original, it would be out. This, in reality, affects a grand total of like 2% of all content, shorts included, on the platform, because it is very specifically going after basically AI slop videos and nothing else. If you go ahead and repost any, like, if I were to go ahead and repost clips from my stream, that is fine. If somewhere else was to go ahead and post clips of my stream, that is also fine. If you go ahead and react to other videos out there, that is fine. The thing they're going after is just almost exclusively AI generated rehashes with an AI voice of other people's YouTube videos, which admittedly the world is better without. So no, it's not going to drastically change YouTube. It is about the equivalent of a guy going through and doing a single sweep with a vacuum cleaner, when a deep clean of YouTube is actually needed. And finally, folks, I think I'm just going to go ahead and just move on to the last burb, the last story of the day, the weirdest story of the week. Ladies and gentlemen, China has allegedly made the first humanoid robot that changes its own batteries. The Walker S2 will now walk back to its own charging station, swap out one of its two batteries when it's low on power, and then continue to do work with minimal supervision. All right, look, minimal supervision? You think that's wise? Between the AI hallucinations, the robot now having indefinite power because it now knows how to change its own batteries, the next stop is obvious for the robot. It's going to hallucinate. And it's going to come to the realization that people need to have their batteries changed. And it'll rip out their spinal cords straight through their back and replace it with a lithium battery. This is how it begins. This is how the robot revolution begins. And it's all because China taught a robot how to change its own battery. We're all doomed. Oh, we're all doomed. Honestly, though, kind of neat. Kind of a neat sort of thing. I do hate to be that guy, because, man, if there's one nation on the planet that really, really, really likes to lie about what they can accomplish, it's definitely China. So I gotta wonder, is this real? Maybe that's what the AI is for. It's so that we can, of course, go over to Grok and ask, is this real? Folks, that's going to do it for this episode of Eagle Eyes on Tech. Thank you so much for listening, and I do encourage you to check out my other works, youtube.com/EagleFalcon and twitch.tv/EagleFalcon. Take care. I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye. All right, so how long until the robot learns how to make its own batteries? How long until the robot learns to not only change its batteries, but then harvest batteries from other robots? Is this how robot society begins? Is this how the first robot wars begin? Where the charging stations start dying out and the robots begin to turn on each other to harvest the batteries out of other robots to keep themselves alive? You know, I think this insane thought might actually make for a pretty sweet Hollywood movie. Someone write that down and send it off to them. Because, man, lately Hollywood has been stinky. In the meantime, I'm going to move to Alaska, where technology doesn't exist, probably.